welcome back to another video. If you're new here, welcome to my channel. My name is Momo and I try to make sewing tutorials that are easy to follow. Today's tutorial is going to be a little different. I'm actually going to be following this pattern by Simplicity. For this tutorial, I'm just going to be making the top. Make sure to like and subscribe and give this video a big thumbs up, and let's get started. When it comes to patterns, I like to retain all of the sizes. I wanted to make a tunic rather than a shirt. I extended the length and also widened the hip area. Make sure to transfer everything over to the fabric, including any marks and darts. Starting with the bodice pieces, stay stitched about 1/4 of an inch away from the edge. Start from the outside and sew towards the center. This is going to keep the neckline from stretching. Match the front bodice to the back and sew. This is the corner of the neckline, and the two pieces are a little misaligned, but if you sew using a 5/8 seam allowance according to the instructions, the two pieces actually line up right at the 5/8 mark. Take a piece of elastic that is the same length as the width of the shoulder and place it right over the seam that you just sewed. I flipped the whole thing around so that the elastic is on the bottom. This way the shirt is on top and I can just sew right along the seam. You can see here that the elastic is sitting right on top of the front piece. This is going to help stabilize the shoulder and keep it from stretching too much. Take the neck binding, fold it in half, and stitch the edge together. I completely forgot to press the record button, but here it is, all stitched. See these two blue marks here that are a little bit towards the top of the neck binding? Take the opposite edge and fold it under towards the wrong side by 3/8 of an inch. Press everything in place. Take those two marks that I mentioned and match them up against the shoulder seams. Sew all around. The idea here is to take the part that you pressed earlier and fold it so that it is covering the raw edge between the shirt and the neck binding. But first, press the seam towards the binding. I found that it was easier to do this with the right side facing up. Pin it in place and sew right next to the seam. I actually stitched right on top of the existing seam, and you can see how the stitches aren't really noticeable on the right side, while on the inside, the raw edge between the shirt and the binding are covered. Gather the shorter edge of the ruffle. Play around with the settings and definitely test them out on some scraps before actually gathering the ruffles. You want to make 2 stitch lines. Open up the bodice pieces and lay them flat. With right sides together, attach the ruffles to the shirt. Make sure to match up any marks and notches. If you need to gather the ruffles a little bit more, just pull at the bottom thread so that the width of the ruffle is the same width as the armhole. Baste the ruffle in place. With right sides together, repeat using the sleeves. Make sure all the marks and notches match up between the 3 layers. Sew it in place. This is the seam between the sleeve and the shirt. Press it so that it is facing in towards the shirt. Okie dokie. Progress update. I just roughly pinned everything together. This is what we have. The sleeves are definitely way too long for me, so I'm gonna have to probably take off maybe about like 3 inches. Let's get back to work. To make the adjustments, I folded the shirt in half and made sure that everything was laid out flat. I used the pattern to trace out the size that I wanted, only along the side and a little bit of the underarm. I also decided to just trim off the bottom part and keep this as a shirt. I didn't do anything to the neckline because that part was pretty much done. I did this on the front and back separately, and also repeated it on the sleeve. Now we can go and match up the front to the back. Make sure to pin with the ruffles facing the sleeve. I also found that it was easier to start sewing from the underarm point all the way through to the sleeve and then come back to the underarm point and sew down the side seam. I think the fit is a lot better now since I've taken away some of the seam from the side as well as the underarm. I'm also going to go ahead and trim away part of the seam because as you can see here where the ruffle area is, it's kind of bulky. I didn't really like the idea of gathering the waist or the wrist, so I decided to just hem the raw edges by folding it under and stitching it with a twin needle. To finish things off, go back to the shoulder. Take the seam that is between the shirt and the sleeve and fold it in towards the shirt. Hand sew it to the shoulder seam.
I was complicated, you made perfect sense. I was slowly breaking, but you knew how to mend. We're searching